new beginning, a chance to erase unhappy endings. When I wake, I can make 1,000 dreams come true. I can use my faith in God in everything I do, 'cause every day is new. Infinite paths to choose, the choices I make and the chances I take are based in truth. And every day is new. Every night when I go to sleep, my unconscious mind counts the blessings I reap. When I sleep, my thoughts seem to work themselves on out. When I rise to greet the day, my mind is free of doubt, 'cause every day is new. Infinite paths to choose, the choices I make and the chances I take are based in truth. And every day is new. I don't get caught up in trying to make life make sense. The price that it would cost me would be too high an expense. So I just pray and keep the faith, 'cause every day is new. Infinite paths to choose, the choices I make and the chances I take are based in truth. And every day is new. I don't get caught up in trying to make life make sense. The price that it would cost me would be too high an expense. I just pray and keep my faith, 'cause every day is new. Infinite paths that I can choose, the choices I make and the chances I take are based in truth. And every day is new. Yes, it's true. Every day is new. Yes, it's true. Every day is new.
Oh, beautiful. Beautiful. Good morning. It is a good morning, isn't it? I'd like to welcome you. My name is Stephanie, and it is my pleasure to greet you. For those of you who are here in the sanctuary, and I have to tell you, it is such a delight to see all of your beautiful faces this morning. It's wonderful. I love seeing people out here. It's great. For those of you who are watching us online, we affirm that we are one in spirit, and we welcome you here today also, and I'm hoping to see you here because this is where I see your faces, and I love that. We have a guest speaker today, and our guest speaker today is Jeff Dawes. Did I get that right? Jeff Tawney. Why do I want to call you Dawes? That's crazy. I think it was. I think I knew you was Jaws in a previous life. There it is. He is speaking about everything is spiritual, and I can't wait to hear that because I take that as truth. I agree with you. And so give him a hand because he's here with us. Say thank you. We appreciate that, and I would like to say, Sandra, it is wonderful to hear your voice again today. And I am so glad that you are with us. And Chris also, thank you so much. We appreciate what you guys do for us. And also, we have a special thanks that goes out to our extremely valuable media team. Byron and Wayne, we just cannot say thank you enough, because without you, the whole thing of other people watching us doesn't happen. There are days that might not be a bad thing. Now I invite you to join me in prayer. Sweet Spirit, we open our hearts to receive you. We greet this day centered in God and in the knowledge that we are all one in the Spirit of the Christ. It is from this consciousness that we become an individual expression of the love of God. We envision sending this love out to our world, seeing love extending out to our unity community, to the globe of Spokane, the city of Spokane. It's going to be one of those mornings, people. We honor all those who worship on this day, no matter what religion, for we know there are many paths to God, but there is only one God. In the warm and loving spirit of unity, we say thank you and amen. And now we get to hear more from our beautiful musical team, and we will settle in for meditation.
Peace before us, peace behind us, peace under our feet, peace within us, peace over us. Let all around us be peace. Love before us, love behind us, love under our feet, love within us, love over us. Let all around us be love. Light before us, light behind us, light under our feet, light within us, light over us. Let all around us be light. Christ before us, Christ behind us, Christ under our feet, Christ within us, Christ over us. Let all around us be Christ.
And breathe. Breathe in deeply. Take in divine light. And exhale anything that is not divine light. Breathe in peace. Breathe out anything that is not peace. Heed your inner voice and find peace. Center in the heart. Breathe and find peace. Listen to what your body tells you. Slow down for just a moment. Release the energy that needs to be released. And breathe in peace. Peace lies in the precious balance between activity and rest. No one can give it to us, and the more we chase after it, the more elusive it becomes. So we rest easy and allow it to permeate us, and we breathe in peace. We breathe in love. We breathe in divine energy. We breathe in centeredness. We breathe in heart. We breathe in grounding energy. And we breathe out all that is not divine peace. Giving ourselves loving care brings us immeasurable peace, and we honor what we need for our bodies, for our minds, and for our souls. And we breathe in peace. We make space in our hearts for peace. We make space in our center for divine love and healing. And now we'll take just a moment to let you breathe in and breathe out. Find your center. And as you breathe out, I invite you to begin to become aware of your surroundings. We return to find our feet firm on the ground. We hear the sounds around us. We feel the material of our clothing, the seat that we're sitting in. If you open your eyes, you will see all that is around you. You smell the air around you. And welcome back.
I've got peace more abundantly. I've got peace. The Spirit flows as me. I've got the peace of God in everything I do. I've got peace more abundantly. I've got strength more abundantly. I've got love. Spirit flows as me. I've got the love of God in everything I do. I've got love more abundantly. I've got strength more abundantly. I've got strength. Spirit flows as me. I've got the strength of God in everything I do. I've got strength more abundantly. I've got joy more abundantly. I've got joy. Spirit flows as me. I've got the joy of God in everything I do. I've got joy more abundantly. I've got joy more abundantly. I've got joy more abundantly.
There are many things in this world that will try to pull us out of peace. And I think it's important to remember that as those of us who are a part of unity, that we do stand for peace. So I invite you to hold the vision of a peaceful end to the violence in all nations presently at war. And I invite you to envision a world at peace. And I invite you to share in unity's statement for peace. Together, unity stands for peace in the presence of conflict, for love in the presence of hatred, for forgiveness in the presence of injury. Unity honors the many names for God, the many paths to God, the many ways to worship God, for there is only one power and presence of God, and that God loves each one of us equally. Unity stands for peace in our lifetime. It is therefore the position of unity to urge all nations, their leaders, and their people to turn to God by whatever name for guidance during these challenging times, and to pursue peace, not war. For this is what honors the God of all our faith traditions. Thank you. Now I ask you to stand, pause in silence, and acknowledge the divine in each other. For those of you who are joining us live stream, I encourage you to envision all of those you consider a part of your spiritual community. Feel yourself expressing love towards these individuals and receiving love in return. Thank you. And now we're going to get to hear a little bit more music in a moment here. And then we'll have our message. Fantastic. I love videos.
I'm no longer a slave to fear. I am a child of God. I'm no longer a slave to fear. I am a child of God.
Good morning. And thank you so much for being here. That first song you did really moved me because I know where it's coming from. So thank you. Thank you for indulging that long video. That song has become an anthem for me as I have this spiritual journey that I've been on and moving out of evangelical Christianity. And as I was watching the video again, there were some additional things that were really touching to me. And it's just been one of those. It's been one of those things. So my talk today is everything is spiritual, and in these times, especially right now, as we're getting into the election time, where everybody wants to make everything political, everything is spiritual. And I've lived a life with a lot of experiences, and I found that a lot of those experiences have connected me to God. And what I want to do today is I'll tell you a little bit about myself. I'll share a couple of stories, and then we'll conclude. When I first did this talk, I had ruby red shoes on, but decided not to wear those today to stick out. But like Dorothy in The Wizard of Oz, we have this journey that we go on, and along that journey, we encounter different things and different experiences. And if somebody could have told Dorothy at the very end of the story, this is what your experience is going to be, she might have learned the lesson, but she had to experience all those encounters, all those characters, all those twists and turns to get to the point to realize there was no place like home. So real purpose of my talk today is to provide you with encouragement that all the experiences that you have in your life are spiritual lessons, or they can be, if we make the choice to be there. Now, I will say that, I'm sorry, here, forget that. I will say this. My alternate talk title was How I Went from an ultra-conservative, right-wing Fox News, Rush Limbaugh, Sean Hannity evangelical to an inclusive, inward-thinking, self-awareness, non-religious, open-minded, higher-seeking human. And when I tell people a little bit about my story, they're not just fascinated, but they're also like, how does somebody ever come from that far to the right to be where you are today? And it's part of the journey, and it's part of the lessons that I've learned. I would say that the most notable change in my transformation in my life is that change. And it's been one that I look back on those times. I tell people, friends, that if you'd known me 10, 12 years ago, you probably wouldn't have liked me. We wouldn't have had a lot in common, because I would have told you what you need to do in life and where you need to go and all that sort of thing, much like the people that we encounter in our life today. Before I get any further, let me just kind of tell you a little bit about myself. I began my journey, I moved up here to Spokane about 4 years ago. It's almost 4 years to the day that I actually moved up here from California. My son over here, he's my youngest. He acquired an autoimmune disease that rendered him paralyzed. And my 2-year plan to move up here became a 60-day plan. And I literally just sold everything I had to get up here to be close to him. He is fully recovered, and now we've got an additional grandbaby, and you can't see there, but there's another one on the way. So he has not just recovered, but he's also thriving. But it's my daughter Brittany and her boys, and my youngest Piper, my mom there on the left, and my father, and a couple of pictures with me with the grandkids. My parents were divorced when I was young, very young. My mom was pretty much a devout Christian. My dad had a foxhole religion. He came out of the military, and basically his idea of God was cowering in the bottom of the foxhole. That was his thing. Is like, when I need God, I'll need him at that moment, but at the rest of my life and that sort of thing. He never really lived that life. But my experience that there are many limitations that have been placed on our Christian experience. And it doesn't allow us the opportunities to seek God or discover or find God in the everyday things in life in which the real interaction and the real opportunities exist. The tornadoes in my life was the death of my mom when I was 18, the death of my grandfather at 19, the loss of my firstborn daughter, lots of cancer in my family. You learned at a very young age that death changes you. One of the biggest cracks in my faith was when my mom passed away, as at 18, being part of a devout Christian church. I was told, you just pray. We're going to pray, lay hands on your mom's going to be healed. And so I stood on that. And when my dad had a very serious dinner with my sister and I, and said, your mom's not going to make it. And I literally left the table and said, you're a liar. You have no idea what you're talking about. Mom's going to be healed. And in the days that followed, the last 3 days of her life, I couldn't even go to the hospital because I was so rocked by it all. And when I went back to those people that said, we're going to lay hands on your mom's going to be healed, and said, what happened? And I was told, well, maybe your mom had unconfessed sin in her life, maybe you have unconfessed sin in your life, and God didn't hear your prayers. And as a young man, we all have secrets. We all have things that we can't talk about. But as a young man at such an impressionable age, it really rocked my faith. I stayed following Christianity, but there was always that question in my mind, and prayer up until just recently has been very, very difficult for me because there's that doubt. It's like, how can that, it didn't happen then. And so I've had to really kind of relearn what prayer is all about. And recently, Reverend Bonnie has started a class on affirmative prayer, which I'm coming out of that and kind of as I've done with everything else, and reconstructing my Christianity, of reconstructing what prayer really is and what it isn't. But in a lot of the Christian circles, questioning God and questioning, like, why did this happen? And God, how can you allow this to happen? You just don't do that. You would just accept the way things are, and you don't ask those questions. And as you grow, you grow with resentment. I grew with resentment, and it's like, I don't understand how a God can do this, but you keep pushing forward. But one of the things that one of the books I started on this journey, one of the books I read, The Four Agreements, talked about how our experiences become our truth becomes our reality, and from those realities, we create a strategy in how we're going to live life. So I'll give you an example of what that looked like for me. Having cancer all around my family, both sides of my family, and having even a cousin, an older cousin that had testicular cancer at a young age, I just came to that crossroad. Was either A, I'm going to live my life and not fear that I'm going to have cancer, or I'm going to live looking over my shoulder, wondering what ache I get that's going to be the next thing that's going to put me in the hospital. And so I just accepted it, and I accepted the fact that I probably wouldn't see 40, maybe 50, but I wasn't going to see old age. So I lived my life accordingly, and I didn't live reckless or anything like that, but I just lived life with the pretense of, I've already accepted death, I've already accepted that that's going to happen, and I want to make every day count. And so I did the best I could in those, but still, trying to find this journey and that sort of thing. One of the gentlemen that spoke, that I've heard talk before, Richard Seaman, summed it all up for me this way: all of our messages can become all of our messes can become our messages, and all of our messages can become our ministry. And so with that, I started going down this path of being involved with men's groups and being involved with addiction, people suffering from addiction, and just really pressing in to what people were going through. The real beginning for me of my shift, I have to give credit to this woman, Shelley Ellers, who was my mentor, boss, whatever. And Shelley and I had an amazing relationship. I used to refer to her as my mother. She said, I'm too young to be your mother. I'm your older sister. So we always had this thing going back and forth. But Shelley and I, while I was devout Christian, she was New Age. But we had two things we never talked about: politics or religion, because we were on opposite ends of them. But we valued our relationship with one another so much so that didn't matter. And we would get together every couple of weeks for lunch or dinner or what have you. And, we would talk about everything under the sun but politics and religion. But one of the things that Shelley really challenged me was to be question everything and understand why things have a purpose. In my friendship with her, I learned what it meant to have boundaries. The boundary of we're not going to talk about religion, we're not going to talk about politics. That song came into my awareness, and one of the biggest things that I was going through was, you have certain things in your life that you fear. And so when I got to a point where it was like, okay, I'm fearing this. Why do I have a fear? Why do I have resistance to this? And I'm going to press into it. And I'm going to try to understand where that was coming from, right? And so the more things like that happened, the more I pressed in and the more I pressed in. I got involved with a life coach and went through a divorce, and all kinds of things happened. But I realized certain things about myself. And I borrowed my talk title from one of the gentlemen that I follow, one of the pastors I follow. His name is Rob Bell. And if you don't know his story, that's a very fascinating story and how he's come out of evangelical Christianity. But Rob wrote a book, has a talk called Everything is Spiritual, and that became part of it. But anyways, but just finding the freedom in that, and for so many times I would say, okay, God, I don't understand this, so help me understand it. What does this mean? What does that mean? And the first time that happened, the most prevalent time that happened was with this man. His name is Luis. He was a painter that I work with, and amazing, talented guy. That is actually the top of a piano that he plastered and then hand carved at a piano studio. Is this my water here? Okay. Amazing guy. And I got to know Luis, and he, as I said, he was a painter. And one day I was in my quiet time at home, struggling in my marriage, and I was like reading in Scripture, and it was like, it was the part of the Scripture that talks about having a suitable helper, that God looked at Adam and said, this is good, but I need to create a suitable helper. And I'm like, okay, God, what does it mean to be a suitable helper? What does that look like? Show me, because I'm not seeing it. And so a day or 2 days later, Lewis calls me and says, hey, I need to borrow some money. Is there any way you can lend me some money? And I go, dude, I'll give you one better than that. I've got a job I need some help on. I'll take you with me. And I explained a little bit of the job. And he goes, well, I don't have any tools, Jeff. And this guy is just, if you met him, he's just a lovely guy. And I said, you don't need anything, Lewis. I've got everything we need. So we go to the job site, and on the way we're talking. And then I explained to him, okay, when we get there, look over the job, and I do cabinetry and refinish cabinets and things like that. And so we walk in the house, and I show him, okay, these are the doors. We're going to take these doors, put hinges on them. We're going to put them up on the wall or up on the cabinet, adjust them, and then we're just going to move through this. And the lady in the house just recently had her house painted, and she had Oprah on. So there was enough there for Luis to be distracted by all these other things that was going on, paint job, etc. But he followed me. And the first couple of times, I'd have to tell him what I was doing. And by the time it was over, got the next door prepped. He was measuring for the next door, got the hinges out, got the screws out, and we're just moving from one door to the next. By the time it was all over, we were a well-oiled machine. And we get in the car, and Lewis says, so Jeff, how did I do? How did I do? Did I do okay? And I go, and then it hit me, the light went on. you were my suitable helper today. Because he was somebody, while I had the vision and I had the job and I had the responsibility, he was looking to me for the lead. But it didn't mean because I was on the ladder and he wasn't that he was any less than me. He looked at it and said, this is a job. He's got the responsibility. What can I do to help him? Now, he could have said, hey, I'm watching Oprah or The Paint, or how come I can't be on the ladder? How come I can't use a tool? How come you're the one that's doing it, right? He just looked at it and said, the best way that I can assist him in this situation is be this. And I have this analogy of what it means to be in partnership with somebody. It's like on a hiking. You go on a hiking trip, right? You're on this trip, and one person has the map and the details, and the other person is following. But sometimes the trail is not wide enough to where you can walk together, so one walks behind. But then pretty soon the trail widens up, and you walk side by side. And at other times, you let the other person go forward because maybe you're feeling tired, or maybe they've got a better handle on things, or whatever. It's not a matter of who's in front and who's in back. It's a matter of the teamwork and how you're working together to get what needs to be accomplished. And that's where I felt like God was telling me that this is what it means to be a suitable helper. And what you've been married to for 19 years is not it. And it wasn't it because that's not what, when I went into this marriage, got married for all the wrong reasons. And so I had to take a step back, and I had to really understand. And I went through a lot of grief when I decided to leave that marriage in a peaceful way. But it was just like, this is not 19 years of marriage and 8 counselors this is not working. And we just need to do something. And so I chose to leave, and we're still friends. I just went back to California for a funeral and spent time with my ex-wife, and we get along great and everything, but we realized, like, after about an hour with each other, like, yeah, we know why 19 years didn't work. Whoops. Another thing that happens is talking about truth, and we talk about what is truth. And this scripture in John talks about where Jesus is addressing the disciples, but he's also addressing some others. And he says, they say to him, "We are Abraham's descendants and have never been slaves to anyone. So how can you say that we shall be set free? We are free. It's generations ago that our ancestors were slaves, but we're not. We've never experienced it. So how can you say we're going to be slaves?" And I'm going to fast forward, and so he says to them down here at the bottom, he says, "I am telling you what I have seen in the Father's presence, and you are doing what you have heard from your Father." Now the difference is, Jesus is saying what I have experienced in the Father's presence is truth. What's being passed on to you by your ancestors or by your father or anybody else is not truth. So he's saying one of the things that really stuck out to me in this is our experiences tell us what truth is. And I like to illustrate that in this next little story. This another thing that happened is one day in California, you get Bermuda grass. It grows anywhere. If you like Bermuda grass, it grows anywhere and everywhere, and you just have to control it. If you don't like Bermuda grass, you're in trouble because once it gets a foothold in an area, it takes over. But I was out in my front yard one morning. For about a week and a half, I was pulling spurge out of the grass. And I got so good that when I was so knowledgeable about the different weeds that I could stick my finger in the grass and I could tell what was weed and what wasn't. I could feel the difference in the temperature between the weed and the Bermuda just by touching it, and I knew that's a root of a weed and that's not. And as I was like going through this thing with God of like understanding what truth is, after I got done pulling weeds, I literally felt God say, the way that you will know truth is you experience it. Once you experience it and you understand what a weed is and what Bermuda grass is and what it isn't, then you understand what's truth. And so it was so profound to me because I thought, here is pulling weeds is teaching me about what truth is. I'm not a scholarly guy. I've never been to ministry, although that's changing. I've never done a lot of things to become highly educated on these things. So I know I can only attribute that to these are things coming from God, coming from the Spirit that's educating me. And so it was just amazing. That was the first one. And the next one I have to tell you about. Oh, I'm sorry. I was looking at this expecting my there we go. Another time was wiggle room. I'm out in the yard doing work again. I miss having a yard, and I was having a personal situation that was having a lot of issues. And I kept pressing in, trying to figure out how we going to fix this problem. And so I had to dig up an old rose bush root ball, and I had been working on it, and it had a taproot right in the center of it, like that. And I had to keep digging around and trying to get that root ball to lean over. And the more I dug deeper, the more room I had to put on either side of that root ball to get it to open up. And so I got the hole was so big, but it had to be in order to get the root over, get the bush over far enough to actually hit the taproot. And it was like a couple of days later, I was thinking to myself, I was having this experience in this situation and realizing that what I needed to do in this situation was provide this person some wiggle room. I needed to back off the situation. I needed to step away and allow what was really the problem to be exposed. And so it was such an amazing experience because for me, as I've said, learning things by experience has been the most has been the most impactful. I wasn't going to talk about this, but believe it or not, when I was working on my slides, this slide was not in the deck, but every time I went to play the presentation, the slide came up. Like 5 or 6 times, and I was getting frustrated. And then I realized, maybe I need to include that slide. Maybe there's a reason why it's not. So let me tell you this little story. So I was dating a lady, and we were friends, but she was like, I don't think I could ever fall in love again. I don't understand what love is. And so we went to one of those painting parties, where you go and have a glass of wine, and they have an image up on the front there, and everybody, and there's 20 of us or so in the party, and we're all trying to paint what we see up there, right? And the instructor's coming around and doing all that. And so we're trying to recreate this image that's up on the wall. And so when it was all said and done, my friend's name was Tracy. She's like, well, I don't want it. I'm going to throw it away. I go, you can't throw it away. You created that. She goes, I don't really care. It's ugly, and I have nothing to do with it, and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, well, I'm going to save it. I saved it. And it struck me about a week or two later as I was looking at the paintings and thinking, the problem is we all are looking at the same thing, but the difference in our skills and the ability to interpret and our skill level and what we're able to do is different. And while one person says that I know what love is, and another person says I don't know what love is all based upon what we know to be true. Our experiences, our understandings, the awareness, all of that comes back to the place of what we're able to do. I can't tell you which one of these is mine and which one is hers because she signed hers Tracy and I signed mine Tawney, and the names look so similar on the paintings that I couldn't honestly tell which one was hers or which one was mine. But the point being is that they're different. They're not exact. And if you were to look at the image that we were all trying to project from, you would say, well, they're similar, but then you'd look at 20 other paintings in the room of what people had created, and you'd see they're all different because we're all different. We all have different skill levels. And so my takeaway from that was, when one person says they know what love is, they may have a different experience or a different set of tools and that sort of thing. One of my favorite quotes is by Dr. Howard Thurman. Don't ask what the world needs. Ask what makes you come alive and go for it. Because what the world needs is people who have come alive. And in closing, that's really what I've been doing is deconstructing my faith and all this thing, realizing what really causes me to come alive. Recently, I've decided I'm going to follow the path and going back to school to become a Unity minister. And so that means, at 64, 65 years of age, I should be done when I'm 70. I don't know. But the idea is what makes me come alive is being able to take these things, that normal, everyday things. And I know there's probably all this schooling I'll learn about why that happens and how I'm able to put all that together. And I'm excited to learn. But it's the part that really makes me come alive and what I really enjoy doing. And as I said about, learning again about what prayer is, I'm getting excited about that, of what affirming prayer is and what prayer isn't. I think for a lot of people that think, I'm going to pray for this person, I'm going to pray for that person, you're not praying because you care about that person. You're really praying about that person because you want to change them. I think they need to be this. I think they need to do that. At least that was my experience. And so I'm looking forward to just really focusing on what it means to me and who I am. And when I first gave my first talk at Unity, I had like 25 slides. It was a big talk. It was a long talk. Because I thought this is going to be my only shot, my only opportunity to speak, so I better put it all in there. Lo and behold, that's all changed. But anyways, it's been a great journey. I've enjoyed it. Some of the other talks that I've actually put together are like deconstructing what Christianity is for me and reconstructing what that looks like into a form that is like that is what I believe God to be, and that's all based upon what we learn, what we read, our understandings. So, anyways, I thank you for the opportunity. Thank you so much. Appreciate the opportunity to be here, and I ask you all to just go out and be the blessing in life. Thank you.
Jeff, thank you so much for that. I often say I have sisters from different misters and brothers from different mothers, and you are speaking my language, honey. I believe that all truth comes from perspective and experience. And the only truth I know for sure is someday I'm going to shed this. Everything else is malleable. So I genuinely appreciate what you had to say today. Thank you so much, and namaste. This is the part in our service where we get to give a love offering. I invite you to consider the gift you wish to share with this ministry as we begin to pass the offering bags. For those who are joining us from home, instructions will be displayed on the screen on how you can donate. I'm not going to go through all that. You can see it. Oh, that's what I thought we were waiting for. Sandra, take us away.
Oh, okay. 2, 3. Every minute of life's a chance to live in love. Every choice, every path, a chance to live in love. Every day of my sacred life, may I live in love. Rose up from a seed, first sweet release. It's a river that will never run dry. It branches out and reaches up. every choice, every path, a chance to live in love. Every day of my sacred life, may I live in love. It's thoughtful and it's wise, giving hope and shedding light. It's a feeling no one ever outgrows. It spreads its wings and lifts us high and shines compassion from inside. It's called living in love, let's give it a try. Love is always moving, 'cause it really can't be still. It's alive and it's real, and it teaches us to feel. Every minute of life's a chance to live in love. Every choice, every path, a chance to live in love. Every day of my sacred life, may I live in love. Every day of my sacred life, may I live in love. Every day of my sacred life, may I live in love.
Oh, giving me all the feels today, girl. Please join me in blessing these gifts as we affirm together our love offering statement. Together. Divine love in, through, and as me blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I give, and all that I receive.
And all that I receive.
Thank you. I invite you to place any prayer intentions in the prayer box before you leave today, and our prayer team, along with Unity, will pray for you over the next 30 days. And then they send them off, and Unity Worldwide will pray for them again for another 30 days. Feel free to call in your prayer requests to the church at 509-489-6964. Thank you. Let's welcome in the children.
You are walking in the light, in the light, in the light. You are walking in the light of God. In the light, 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 in the light of God.
Amber, I'm going to hand this to you and let you tell us a little bit about what y'all did today.
Today we played with Play-Doh and we made a neighborhood about like how to take care of the neighborhood, how to keep it up and everything so that it still looks good and is nice. And that's really all we did. And so,
That sounds like fun. Did you guys enjoy yourselves? Excellent. And now you know how to take care of a neighborhood? Yes. And you're going to go take care of your neighborhood? Yes. Excellent. Well, do you mind if we bless you? Okay. We bless you. We appreciate you. We love you. And we recognize the divine in you. Thank you. Oh. Should we do some announcements? If you don't know yet, you are in a cave. We are having a harvest party, and this is going on next Saturday from 5 to 8. It's gonna be a good time. We have adult games. We have kid games. We have, I called it a cakewalk, and I know it's not a cakewalk, it's a bakery walk, because there's all kinds of baked treats, and you don't know what it's gonna be. And I really hope it's not a brawl walk. Because you don't know what chair it's going to be that's going to win. So we've got all kinds of things. We've got food, we've got prizes, and it's going to be a good time. So be here. Sandra, do you have any announcements for us?
Just that on November 19th, Saturday, we're having a celebration of life service for my husband at 2 o'clock. And
Okay.
anyone who wants to come and be supportive or know a little bit more about my hubster, please come and join us, and we'll have a little refreshment after, and probably a slideshow with some photos and a little bit of music. One of our divas, Carol, is going to be here to sing for us.
Wonderful.
And so it should be a nice send-off.
Oh, I look forward to that. Next Sunday, we have David McClure with us. We're looking forward to that. One other thing, a longtime member, David Jones, has made his transition this week. He was 96. He was a longtime supporter, and he began when our church was just founded and was super involved in building the church. Services will not be until spring. And then lastly, I also want to announce that we have some charitable things. Because of our contributions, you guys do so well in helping to support our community. And one of those communities that we help to survive is Alternatives to the Violence program. A wonderful program, fully support that. And of course, our Unity Worldwide Ministries, and our Unity Village, and our Unity Northwest region. And we appreciate all of the contributions that you guys make and all that you do. And on a side note, I am looking for Christmas trees. Not for myself, and if you want to just lend them, that would be great. If you have an extra Christmas tree that you don't mind lending, just call into the church and leave your name and number, and I'll give you a call back. And appreciate that, and I'll make sure they get back to you. Okay, let us all stand and join in the peace song. Wonderful. Thank you so much. And please join me as we end in prayer. The light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. The presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well. Thank you, everybody. And remember that you are loved and you are loved. Have a great week.
Good flows in and good flows out. That's what life is all about. Do the good that you can do, and more good will come to you. Because we're truly in the flow, we take it in and we let it go. The simple truth, there is no doubt. Good flows in and good flows out. Good waiting